John Wick 1 or John Wick.
Yeah, just John Wick.
John Wick the first.
Or I think it's actually retroactively been called John Wick Chapter 1.
Has it now?
Yes.
All right, well, whatever. John Wick.
Mm-hmm.
So, this was a movie that, to me, is very significant in the movie-osphere.
How's that?
Well, in the obvious world of complaints of sequel, prequel, blah, blah, fuck this, too many, comic book adaptations. There's an original idea written by Derek Kolstad.
Yes.
It's a great movie.
Oh, yeah. So, namely, with fantastic action that is beyond the pale of a lot of what action has been now, which is just either shaky cam or not cloaked, or like very poorly shot fight scenes. The action in this is
I think that's a good phrase that you use, is cloaked, because it feels like action is shot, edited, or lit, or whatever the hell, in a certain way to hide the fact that there's something lacking about it, that they're not really putting as much care as they should into making action spectacle scenes all that they should be.
Right. Yeah, it was, and that part of that comes from the fact that this is directed by two veteran stunt peoples, Chad Stahelski and David Leitch. Though it's actually interesting, Chad Stahelski is the only one credited here, though they did direct the movie together. This movie, most notably, starts with one of the better premises we've seen in as far as revenge movies go. What happens here? It's famous. I mean, come on. We know what happens.
First of all, that is the cutest beagle puppy ever.
Little Daisy is her name.
Little Daisy. So, obviously, John Wick's wife is dead.
Mm-hmm.
And she basically sets it up so that once she's dead, because she knows she's dying from this mysterious terminal illness, that he will get this adorable puppy named Daisy.
It's something to remember her by.
Right. And, for him to
move on
and learn to love again.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he does learn to love this adorable little dog.
A little bit too much.
Because the Russian guys who wanted to buy his car come to his house, beat him up, and then they kill the dog.
Ooh, that's a big mistake.
That scene makes my blood run cold.
Yeah.
Because, of all the dogs that you had to kill, little Daisy, fuck that guy.
You had to kill one that, wasn't a threat?
Yeah.
Come on, dude.
Because even the dog in Halloween, I still feel sad for it.
Yeah, it's like...
Even though he's sort of an aggressive, he's like a Doberman-ish kind of dog.
Yeah.
Annie's dog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ugh, that's rough. But anyway, it's a horrific scene. It's not as bad as it could be, but it's still pretty bad. But the most important thing about the scene is that it sets up...
Oh, by the way, spoilers for this whole review.
Oh, what's that?
Whatever.
The dog dies?
No, just in general.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah.
Because it's from the vault.
Yeah, I mean, come on, guys. The movie came out in 2014.
Sorry,
guys.
Yeah.
No, but the point is this sets up the entire franchise of John Wick being this guy who was done. This was no longer something he wanted to do. He wanted to live a normal life, and it was taken away from him. It's not something he willingly chose to get back into, though he kind of does in a really badass scene.
It's also just kind of his fault for being an assassin in the first place.
Yeah, it's very much a commentary on the cycle of violence.
That's actually something that I found very interesting rewatching this, because the first time I watched this, I was just there for the carnage and the vengeance. I just want to see him just beat some ass, maybe shoot some people and do some crazy roly jujitsu, gun fu shit. Yeah. So some of that stuff. But the one thing I paid attention to was the thematic elements here a little bit more. I mean, you tend to do that when you rewatch movies, even if they're action movies.
Right.
So that was the one thing, is he can't really escape this life, and this movie kind of asks the questions about can you escape your past life? Mm-hmm. And can you find redemption in a new life? And also, how do you deal with the consequences of your actions or with the actions of others?
I agree.
And so you're right. It's very much about that cycle. Mm-hmm. And the thing that sucks so badly is the puppy man. The puppy represents industry.
Industry?
No, I'm fucking with you. It's from Billy Madison.
I know what you mean.
Because I was thinking about going on this whole thing, if I were a douchey film snob critic, I'd be like, well, you see, the puppy represents John's ability to forgive himself.
Well, no, that's...
the puppy dies, and what happens is it represents that a puppy is young and naive, just like John was.
It's true, though.
He could move on.
No, it is. It's like the puppy. The puppy represents John's hope of having a normal life.
So the puppy is industry.
Yes, but no, it's like the puppy is because think about what is the American dream? You have a house with white picket fence. You have a wife. You have a dog. You have kids, and it's like this dog is John's. This was literally his wife's final gift to him. Like, look, dude, you're gonna have a normal life. It's gonna be fine. Here's a dog. You two are gonna be fine. And they fucking killed the dog. So it's almost like life is saying, you know what, John Wick, fuck you. You need to kill some people still because there's some bad people out there.
Well, the other thing is John Wick he didn't trust that. I think all along he really didn't trust it, that he would be able to move on to a new life. Because why else would he keep all that shit hidden under concrete?
Oh, it's a great scene.
And the concrete, man, it represents the barrier between him and wanting to move on, brah. But
it's the concrete in his mind, man.
Yeah, it's like a brick wall.
Yeah.
It is kind of interesting that you'd think, oh, he doesn't trust that he'll move on to a new life, so he stashes some guns here and there. No. He buries it under concrete.
Yeah. This movie's deep, fuckers.
Yeah.
It's a deep movie.
It's deep like the holiest to dig to get the guns out of the concrete, man.
But, no, so I remember when I was watching this for the first time, and actually, I remember when this movie first came out and seeing the trailers and thinking, Keanu's doing Man of Tai Chi and stuff, and I don't know about this. It's just whatever. And then hearing all the buzz about it and people saying, look, you need to see this movie for the action. Because the action is where it's at. And man, when we get that first shootout
in the house,
amazing. It's just, you're like, oh, okay, so this is made by people who not only know how to choreograph action, but know how to film action. They know how to make their hard work be seen. Because that's one of the worst things about being a fight choreographer, I can imagine, is I choreographed this scene that you're never going to see because shaky cam, because bad angles, because what have you. This
or
is
because I couldn't find performers to really adequately do a lot of the movements.
Right. This is a lot of wide, longish takes of people getting shot, generally in the head, people getting, knees broken and just beaten up. It's awesome. It's fantastic action. It's some of the best in modern filmmaking.
And that's one thing I was going to say is this is a significant movie for the stunt industry at large.
Oh, yeah.
Because David Leitch and Chad Stahelski, as you said, veterans in the industry, but they really, I feel like every action movie that comes out wants to imitate John Wick at least a little bit. And the guys that they've worked with too, like what's his name, Sam Hargrave, dude, that guy has done all the shit for Marvel too.
Oh yeah.
So you see it everywhere, and Marvel is kind of the golden standard, pretty much. Are they not? So that's what I'm saying. They're really changing the stunt industry.
Oh, yeah.
Along with another movie that came out in 2014, Raid 2, Iko Uwais and Company. So I would say those are the two best stunt crews right now that are really current and happening are those two.
I agree. One of the other...
They're taking the Jackie Chan stunt team torch.
They really are.
Which I like.
And that is the noticeable difference in this, is it's not just your garden variety. As much as I love Taken, the shootouts and fight scenes are pretty good, but they don't have much on these. They're so specific in this. They're so much better. They're shot so much better. And the other thing that I really loved about this, weirdly enough, doesn't get enough love, Keanu's performance. This might be my favorite role.
Right,
him.
He disappears in this role,
and he, a lot of people have a problem with Keanu,
in general, the sort of stonery,
I know kung fu,
just
kind of
I get it. There's
vapid, I'm just kind of an airhead, but there's some scenes in this where I'm that's not an easy scene to do, Keanu.
Well, that's another difference with this movie is John Wick's a vulnerable hero.
Yeah, the scene in the chair.
The scene in the chair, the part with
I'm thinking I'm back. He's got that's a hard arc in that fucking scene.
Not even that. It's when he sees little Daisy and he's crying.
God damn it! It's
And you want to know what the other difference is? Normally when heroes are vulnerable, it's towards the end, such as, what the hell is it called? First Blood.
The
first Rambo movie. He breaks down at the end after he's had his war. John Wick breakdowns you see him at his most vulnerable emotional state at basically the very beginning of the movie.
It's interesting because we're held in a space of dramatic, or not even dramatic irony, of just being withheld from information. Because we see this guy, we're like, seems like a normal guy. And like when we learn through the Michael Nyqvist character, Vigo, we learn like, no, this guy's like the greatest assassin that's ever lived. We're like, really? And then we see him like going to town with the sledgehammer. We're like, okay, so maybe he is.
Yeah.
And it's so weird because we learn, we don't know. We're like, oh, it just seems like a guy that got his dog killed. That sucks. Like, oh, fuck.
That's the other thing is, talk about, I don't know if it's editing or screenwriting, but there's some very cleverly done things. He's telling his son Vigo is telling his son how badly he fucked up while intercutting it with a man hitting a sledgehammer into the ground to get guns.
With the fucking pencil.
Yeah.
That other scene, by the way, was John Wick's car, sir.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right.
God damn it, that's just perfect.
It sure is.
But the action's solid.
Well, one thing about the action, I think that maybe this is why it sticks out. So, similar to Raid kind of, reinventing some things, adding Salat, which is kind of, not as common as your garden variety taekwondo or whatever.
Nowhere near as represented in film.
This I think does a good job of using enough real tactical martial arts and gun training, and then mixing it in with the more spectacular stuff in a way that's kind of unusual. It's realistic enough where you're not saying bullshit, but it's flashy enough where it's still a movie and it's still semi-fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. The violence is like it's
semi-fantastical.
Yeah,
you know what I
it's
mean?
hyper real. Like it feels like this is like it's not Free Fire where you're watching it and you're saying to yourself, "Yeah, this is probably how a gunfight would go down."
Yeah, exactly.
It's more than that, and it's more. It's just more fun to watch.
That's what I mean. It's a great meeting of the unrealistic stuff that's fun and the realistic stuff that makes it believable. So it's a perfect mix of cinematic and believable. And there's some other, just a couple other points I want to talk about.
Sure.
So overall, the one thing that I really like about this movie is that the subtext really works. And I think part of that comes from the fact that you kind of figure it out as you go along. As you say, when you really are introduced to this movie, other than the very, very beginning scene, which is the end, you just think this is just some dude who has a kick-ass glass house.
Right.
Wakes up at 6, just kind of groans around. You don't know shit about him.
Right.
Oh, he just happens to be the best assassin. But then there's the whole thing about, you stole John Wick's car. And then the story about the pencil, how all the assassins know him. You go to the Continental, everybody, God damn it, I almost said JJ Redick. I'm just so used to pairing JJ with
Lance
Reddick. Yeah.
That's all right.
Lance Reddick, who's also awesome in this.
Oh, yeah.
But the idea is, welcome back, Mr. Wick.
Yeah.
He's just, just a regular. And they don't waste time explaining much. They just kind of let that go.
The more you watch the movie, the more you not only realize that John Wick isn't who he seems, but this world isn't what it seems.
Right.
This isn't our world.
That's another thing I really like is it sets up a larger world. And you know what this movie does? That all first movies, if you plan to make more of them, does really well. It leaves enough room for bigger development for an even bigger world for a bigger and better sequel. And that's actually the one thing I have a slight issue with this movie is the very ending scene. It's cool. It's on the loading dock with the car.
It's not as much of an exclamation point as it is just a period.
Well, yeah, it just kind of felt like this is just the last scene. It's just kind of on a dreary, boring dock. Whereas you had the Knights Club scene with all the fantastic primary neon colors.
And then you had even the church scene before that, and like some of the gunfighting there is really, really cool. I miss Willem Dafoe, man. I completely forgot he was in this. It's like, oh, that's right. He gets killed in this. God damn it.
That's the other thing.
I miss him.
I like that John Wick is not really invincible.
No.
Like, he fights the one kickboxer dude in the club when they're out of bullets, and he throws his ass over.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then he has to he finds like one of his little like sidearms, has to fire a couple shots just to get that guy to,
drop.
No, he gets him to skedaddle. He kills him later. Mm-hmm. It's just a great movie. There's stakes. This guy's, he's a little rusty, and there's just action that is rarely matched.
Oh yeah, especially nowadays.
Yeah, but because the ending was just kind of it just kind of didn't seem that great to me. Mm-hmm. Overall, I gave this movie a 4 out of 5 when I first saw it, and I stick with it. But I would say it's a solid 4 out of 5.
Very solid. I completely concur. I gave it an 8 out of 10 then, and I still give it an 8 out of 10. I stand by it. It is a very damn good time and a great starting point for a really, really spectacular franchise.
Right you are. So that'll do it for our reviewing from the vault review of All Dogs Go to Heaven, but Not All Gangsters.